Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Nerd Herders channel. Our video this week has us playing Neverwinter, which, for those of you that don't know, this is a Dungeons and Dragons video game.
Ooh.
And if you know anything about us or this channel, you know that we love Dungeons and Dragons and talk about it frequently. But
I don't think we've ever mentioned that we play this.
Right,
specifically you.
But I realize that we've on a channel where we talk a lot about D&D and we do a lot about video games, and yet I've never even mentioned Neverwinter, which I play relatively frequently and have been playing for years.
Mm-hmm.
I started when it was just on PC, so this has been on PC for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But then it made a move, it branched out to being on console.
Yeah, it got ported.
Yeah, so I have a character on my PlayStation that I made it to level 70-something on, which at the time, 75 was the cap, and I was 73. And then now I've got this guy who is 70. Right now, the mission I'm doing, he's been dumbed down to 68. But it's literally a Dungeons and Dragons video game. The title is Dungeons and Dragons Neverwinter, which is pretty cool. And this is, really the only modern game, I guess you could say, Dungeons and Dragons game, and it's an online MMO, but it is by no means the first Dungeons and Dragons video game.
Definitely not.
There have been many. Baldur's Gate is a popular one from the late 90s.
One of the more prominent ones,
One of the
for
more
sure.
prominent ones. I've talked
on a couple of our podcasts about my love for Planescape. Planescape Torment takes place in, I don't know, and that was from the 80s, I think, also around the time of Baldur's Gate.
Right, and so something cool with the games is that they're based on the version of Dungeons and Dragons that
correlates with that time
with
period.
the time period. So those old games I think we read was based on Dungeons and Dragons Advanced. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when Neverwinter came out, it was 4th edition, and now they've kind of added a bunch of 5th edition content.
Yeah, they've been incorporating more from 5th.
Yeah, so it's really neat because it's specifically this is Forgotten Realms. Mm-hmm. So, all these games take place in Forgotten Realms, that Dungeons and Dragons universe, which is cool because there's a lot of novels, a lot of campaign settings and stuff that take place in this. So it's a very well-developed world. So for a video game, there's a lot of lore and references. Even just booting up the menu, you caught a reference that I would have never caught, but because you listened to that podcast.
Yeah, and I was like, they have Acquisitions Incorporated things now, which is definitely a really modern podcast, but it's run by one of the people who works at Wizards of the Coast, who has been doing a lot of the writing for all the 5th edition books, and he had ran it with his friends, and he runs more streams that I listen to, so it's interesting to see them incorporate just things that are popular within people, the people who enjoy Dungeons and Dragons as a whole.
Right.
And the things that the fan base enjoys that isn't necessarily aligned with, the Wizards of the Coast, they'll still, incorporate things that are popular enough. So I think that's pretty interesting.
And, this game is definitely meant to be played in a party, just like Dungeons and Dragons, you have your adventuring party. I frequently play
most MMOs are supposed to.
Yeah. But, it really feels like, one could argue that when you're playing this game, you are playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to exclusively be the tabletop version to still be Dungeons and Dragons, which I think is really neat. Mm-hmm. Because, as we have seen lately, it is really hard in our friends group to coordinate people to get in the same room.
I know, we've been trying so hard.
Been trying for weeks now to get back together. We haven't played in the new year, right?
No, not
we haven't.
Year.
So
this is sad.
You're right. We've been trying. But just with people's school schedules and our work schedules and just...
But yeah, if you can't gather together in person with your party and you don't like to play
the
online,
game. Yeah.
You can play the video games if you just want, your own little D&D experience through your console or through your PC.
So basically, I highly recommend this game for anyone who maybe has heard about it but thought that it was just a PC game. Nope, it's on console, or if you don't have a console, you can play it on PC.
For sure.
It's free to play, which is fun. Again, like many MMOs, there's in-game transactions for equipment or gear or whatever, but you don't have to.
No.
I have never spent a cent on this game. I've never once purchased anything, and I kind of pride myself on that in a way because
Absolutely.
I've made it pretty far along without having to do that. So
it's nice when you have accomplished keeping the free-to-play game free-to-play for yourself when you know other people would like fork over plenty of money for various reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there's people riding T-Rexes and
stuff,
and
also,
I still have a horse,
Yeah.
but it's D&D,
Uh-huh.
A horse makes sense. But yeah, so it's fun. I haven't played any of those older games. You were saying they got reskinned not too many years ago, like
well,
2012?
yeah, they have 2012 they came out with the quote-unquote advanced versions, I think is what they're called. So they had released Baldur's Gate, sort of like cleaned up and polished any things that were found to be problems with it after already releasing it back in like the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
So they would like polish that up and give it like more game modes where you could like be like easy or hard sometimes, things like that. Just sort of expanding something, simplifying other things, making what they thought to be a more polished and better game in the modern day. And so they re-released Planescape Torment and Baldur's Gate at the very least. Maybe I think they also released Neverwinter Nights. I think was one of those. That's more early 2000s. But so it's just like the repolished advanced versions.
Yeah, that's cool.
Of the old games, which I really enjoyed because I played Planescape Torment ages ago, and then now having it where you can choose to play that old nostalgic version that you played with all of its faults, or you can play newer, better version. It's very nice.
There's a lot of references to Baldur's Gate. In this game especially. I'm sure there's references to the others as well, but
I've never played Baldur's Gate myself, but I know of it especially for its soundtrack because I really love the music from Baldur's Gate, and it's played at a lot of Renaissance fairs.
That's funny.
Like it's a popular cover at Renaissance fairs. That makes me happy. So you can kind of pick out like, there's Baldur's Gate.
That's fun. But yeah, I was playing yesterday, so the quest I'm doing right now is actually like the final quest, what I think is the final quest for this zone. I'm in an area called the Fiery Pit. And
so you're fighting red people?
Yeah, well, so it's like, it was a dwarven, this is part of Gauntlgrim, which is...
Oh, yeah, the dwarven mine.
Yeah, and it was taken over by the Cult of Eternal Flame, as you can see the labels on these guys. Yeah. So we're clearing the cult, to get the dwarves back. I rescued a bunch of dwarves yesterday. But so this is supposed to be the final dungeon in the boss fight. This is just where the game was when I turned it on today. I didn't pick this specifically, but I was like, oh, this is cool because it's kind of, I'm going through a dungeon crawl here.
Absolutely.
Very D&D. Probably going to get my ass kicked at the end because I don't have a team. The end dungeons, I can usually get through the quests and stuff up on the surface. And even if you're not in a party, there's other players that can kind of spontaneously join in and help you. But when you're in these dungeons, if you're not in a party, then you are in this instance alone. And so these ones can really...
And they're definitely built more to...
Oh, they're meant for a party. And the parties, again, just like, any MMO or, even the tabletop D&D, relies heavily on you having a diversified classes for your characters. If you have 3 or 4 people, make sure you've got a caster and a healer and all that. And I just have Bob, who's my really crappy cleric.
I know, this is the adventure of Drake and Bob here.
Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. This is not the final boss. Oh, it is. Oh no, this is just the current objective. Sub boss. So slightly more powerful lackey because he gets his own name and health bar at the top of the screen. But
when they're proper named and not just like a type of enemy.
Right,
they
you're like,
mean business.
Incinerath. This guy means business. Well, I just beat the crap out of him. So bye.
Incinerath.
Give me stuff. Give me loot. It's always for the loot.
Always in it for the loot.
Always
That's how you know it's a D&D game.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Aha.
Earlier you were wandering through here and I saw like a speech bubble appear over one of their heads that was like, I don't feel so cool being this close to water. And I'm like, they talk really casually for how, like, fancy they're dressed.
Right.
Like, I expect them to have that old-timey Dungeons and Dragons talk, but he's like, this doesn't feel very great being this close to water.
There's a lot of subtle
made me
humor
laugh.
in this game.
Oh, yeah, like, you told me about, my new favorite character, who
Minsk?
has the... Minsk, yeah.
And Boo, his miniature giant space hamster. Which, look it up, that's a real D&D thing.
A miniature giant space hamster.
Yeah.
And I had not heard of this, and then I went on
Giant
a deep
space
dive.
hamsters
It's beautiful.
are also a real thing.
They're more real, in fact, than miniature giant space
Yeah,
hamsters,
yeah.
one could say.
Also, what was the crazy thing that in Faerun, foxes came through a portal from Earth or something?
That's right, yeah. They came through a portal from Earth.
The background
because, like,
lore
a
is
gnome,
just opened a portal and
was,
discovered
like, just
Earth,
let them in.
And that's how foxes got into Faerun. Yeah, man.
So they're from Earth,
stuff.
but now they're like all around Faerun because gnomes got them there through a portal.
Yeah,
and that's amazing.
And the gnomes are
love weird lore.
also the ones that raise the giant space hamsters as like cattle.
Yeah.
Ride them around. They can live for like 20 years or something. Crazy.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love D&D.
I love D&D.
I love the creativity and the ever-expanding background.
Absolutely.
You know, ooh.
Like from the silliest things to like very intense, real things.
Yeah.
Like you have always been a fan of the Drizzt.
Yes,
lore.
the book series, and he and all of his friends are in this video game. There's a whole chapter, multiple chapters, a whole like quest line about helping them out in Mithril Hall and all that stuff. And it's cool because again, it references those novels, it references those characters. Oh man, here's an even bigger lackey.
Yeah, she's like, I'll just let
that tiefling chick is who you're supposed to defeat. She's the final boss for this. Clearly, you have to fight this guy first, the Forge Caller.
Yeah, she said she wanted her golem to attack you.
This is going to be not fun. I'm a very small man.
I am but a rogue.
I'm not a tank. I'm not a caster. This is not the right class for this fight. Also, who's this guy chained up? I missed the cutscene. I was too busy talking.
That's okay.
Who are you? All right, engineer guy. That's cool.
Nice to meet you.
Ah, rude. Oh boy. The one thing I do have is dodge, which is good because it lets me get out of his attack zones usually before I get hit.
That's good.
So there's a few different classes. On PC, my first character was a ranger because I remade my real-world D&D character, so I was an elf ranger.
Yep.
Arvis, that we've talked about a bit. But it was very difficult to play alone because he had such little health and he could only shoot arrows. And so it was a great support class, but after my group of friends that we played with regularly, after they kind of didn't play as regular, just moved on to other games or whatever. We just didn't play this regularly, and then I was continuing it, was playing it alone or whatnot. I started over so another friend could play, and Travis got into it, and so I started at the beginning with a different character, and so then I was a great weapons fighter, a drow great weapons fighder, and that was a really good class because you've got a decent amount of health, you've got a giant sword, so you can do a lot. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, you defeated her golem.
Yeah.
And now you can attack her.
I just assumed it would be in a different dungeon, but I'm glad we get to just get it over with here. But so that was a really good one because you had health, but you also had hit, and then over on the console, this was the guy that I made. So this is the only character I've had on console, but this is Drake. He's a half-elf rogue, trickster rogue.
So it is
like
different trees that you would click to choose in the beginning.
There's
name your character, and then you decide if you want to be rogue, you decide if you want to be wizard.
There is a proper character builder where you even have the ability scores and the stats.
That's how Planescape Torment is.
It is.
It doesn't tell you oh, you're a wizard or you're a rogue. It's just you up certain stats and you lower certain stats, and that sort of sets your character up. But it never says in D&D, if you had these types of character stats, you'd be a wizard or
so for this one you pick your class, and your race, and then you actually like building a character,
So you
like
could adjust.
like using the 4th edition character builder on the computer. It's a very similar process, and
Yeah.
but much more simplified.
Yeah.
And
But I mean, that makes sense. This game came out around the time of 4th edition, so
right, yeah. So
sure.
it's
So,
it's
similar
really well
character
done,
builders.
and I can show once I beat this chick, which I'm actually doing much better than I thought.
Good job,
I'll
Drake and
pull it up
Bob.
and show you. But as you level up, you can power up your powers or choose different powers. Just like when you level up in D&D, you can select new attacks and stuff. It's very similar. It's really cool, really detailed in the menu. You can swap out your equipment and stuff. Get new weapons, get new helmets, get new armor. Sell the old stuff. I mean, it's D&D in every aspect. It's really great, and I'm getting my butt kicked now
You
because
gotta
she
get
summoned
Bob to-
friends.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
get
Bob,
to
heal
help
me,
you.
man. You're at full health. Why are you
He's
at full
doing
health?
great.
Stop healing yourself and help me out. I've got potions, but there's a recharge time on them.
Yeah,
so.
of course.
Oh man, this is a nightmare.
Bob.
Bob. No.
Near death.
Yeah. Well, and I can call for help, but I don't
But
have
no
any.
one can hear you scream.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have any party members, so
Yeah.
I failed
Whoops.
that. But yeah, so
you did really well.
she goes
You
back
got
to
so
full
far.
health. I know she goes back to full health.
Womp.
So you've got all this, your character sheet, your stats, your skill tree, and then your powers. And so, you can select them, choose which button slot you want to equip them to, So these are all at the different tiers, and I have 0 points available to spend, so, and then, yeah. So there's your feats. These are the feats, the skill tree, so I can select a feat, like let's get that one to the next level, and that one. It's,
Cool.
I really like it. You can have multiple companions and switch them in and out. I only have Bob. I never paid for other ones, but you can have multiple.
Just our boy Bob.
Yeah, you can have different mounts. I think I have 2 horses. It's a really fun game.
Very cool.
I really enjoy it.
What are boons?
If you're part of a guild or different, stuff that I don't do.
Yeah, so that's where the Ink
Right,
quests
yeah,
come
yeah.
in.
So you can be part of different guilds or different, campaign factions and things.
Neato.
Some of them take in-game currency that you have to spend real currency to get. Some of them, if it's a guild, you have to actually be like invited and stuff. Yeah,
like most
so
MMOs.
yeah, exactly. It really follows the pattern of most MMOs, but it also has a really convincing Dungeons and Dragons skin on it.
Yeah.
And this is the closest that you're going to get to like being in Dungeons and Dragons until they develop that virtual reality stuff I was talking about.
I know, we're waiting for
I
like
want
the Star Trek
holodeck D&D
where
holodeck
you can
experience.
be your D&D character.
Yep, that's what I want. Like that
I hope we
episode
live
of
to
Next
see it.
Generation where they do like the Robin Hood reenactment,
That's
except it'll be Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. But I think that's enough yammering, and I'm not going to try and redefeat this lady on the video because this will take forever, and I'm probably going to die a few more times.
People are just going to get tired of watching you try to fight her.
Exactly, yeah. I'm going to have to play with some random people just to get through this final dungeon. Be like, hey, help, please, stranger.
Please.
But, or maybe I can get to...
But I love talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
happy when we get
Exactly.
to talk about video games and Dungeons and Dragons simultaneously.
Well, we were kind of
so-
commenting about how, we do the retro games, so it's like games from the past, or we do the first impressions, like when a new game comes out. But a lot of our videos don't actually reflect the games that we are currently playing.
Yeah.
So like this is something that I've been playing, been playing a lot of Skyrim again, been playing a lot of The Forest, which is an amazing game. But we haven't done any videos about those because we've been doing either new stuff or old stuff or other stuff. So I really want to start
stuff.
making videos about like what we are playing right now, what it is that we're like stoked out on. So right now it's
It's a good go-to to play Neverwinter.
It's Neverwinter. It's
because
free.
We're going through D&D withdrawals.
Exactly. It's
So.
super fun. Even if you know nothing about D&D, if you like MMOs, you'll really get into this one. So I highly recommend it. Free download.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, stay nerdy.